Welcome, Maha, to our little show here about describing the best possible futures.
Thank you.
You are many things. We know each other for a long time. You are an architect, you are an entrepreneur, you are a bender of time. You observe the world and people and how things change. And you've also observed that we haven't had peace on the planet for the last 5,000 years. And this is, as I understand it, the core of your mission to move us as humanity towards true peace. And if there is any future to work towards, then I would agree that a peaceful future definitely would be that. So I would like to focus our conversation on your view on that future. How does that work? Living in a peaceful future. What does this world look like? How do we organize ourselves? How do we make decisions collectively? How do we resolve disputes, etc.? So let's dive in.
Well, okay. I've been in this world for the past 54 years. And throughout those years, I've been through a couple of stages of my life. A baby, a little toddler, a teenager, a mother, and now today I am 54 years and having been obsessed with the fact that every stage of my life actually has given me a completely different new insight on how do we think as humans. There was one thing for sure, that was one thing that united us all in those ages that I have been through, and that is we really want to have fun. We really want to enjoy life. Yeah, we could take the seriousness of what responsibility is and how famous, how creative, how fulfilling, how you name it. But there's one thing that unites everybody, and regardless of age, by the way, or gender, or they want to have fun. So, and now we have a measurement. We have the internet. It shows us that those who created fun and entertainment were the ones who were mostly, let's call it, clicked. They were mostly wanted, and people wanted to listen to them. The serious ones who told us about how we should be, how we should behave, how, whatever. So even, by the way, even the fact that our nature, our human nature, into between two brackets, greed, business, success, creativity, all of that did not exceed the fact that we need to be entertained. We want to have fun. So today, and with those years of experience, I'm asking myself, well, why don't we give in to a very clear human need and use that to get us closer to what we all also need? We want to feel safe. We don't want to be in this constant need of competition, of power, of ruling, of obsession, of greed. We just want to feel like, I am here, you are here, let's just have fun.
Okay. In While you were talking about the fun in life, which I agree, it's important, even just from a perspective of biochemistry. It's important to be happy and joyful. There are things that require dissonance, or that produce dissonance. Different views on how children should be educated, or different views on where the tree should be in the street, or which tree should be in the street. So people would have opposing views, and simply having fun around that, to me, sounds like we're not going to get those issues solved. On the other hand, I can imagine that the deep conversation, the tackling of hard problems, can be great fun and can produce great joy. So where do you see this? What's your take?
I see that you have answered the question, Thomas. I see that we only need to look at what was it that united humans so strongly that they have produced the most, beyond our imagination, closer bonds, beyond nations, beyond religion, things that they enjoyed. Things like sport, music. They created big stadiums, big arenas for singing, and just like war, just how it drove human being, the power of possession to create big armories and big advancement in science, fun and entertainment. With it, they not even only solved problems, they created spheres and realms we never have even imagined. And I will not start. That's why I'm talking about a 5,000 years history that we could eliminate just by.
Do you have a concrete example of what you mean when you say that the entertainment and fun has created positive and bright situations?
Mm-hmm. Okay. A very recent exposure that I have been, I'm a fan of singing and choirs and songs, and an observer to how programs like singing programs, the X Factor, you name them, those places where people come and are joined together, thousands of them, they really find the time and they are coming to witness how a child or a person from a lower background, or from a disabled, but they are all united in agreeing that this is beauty. Now, the choir, very recently, there was this guy who virtually united so many singing lovers, up to 8,000, and they together created this piece of art work where they felt like they were united. And when you hear those people talking, they were saying that I felt so close to those people, although I have never met them. Mm-hmm. And then they were digging deeper into this, they all of a sudden thought, oh, but we were told all our lives that this person from that country is an enemy. With singing together and watching us singing together, I have created a new relationship, which I abandoned so many thoughts that I grew up with, I was told.
Mm-hmm. But what I'm hearing is that your definition of entertainment is is one of co-creation. It's not a passive one, it's an active one. Am I hearing that right?
Always.
Always, okay.
Always.
So,
Thomas, I think there's another missing factor in all of that. When there is power, when there is this responsibility, when there is this seriousness, and by the way, we'll talk about seriousness and fun. When there's this seriousness, people feel under intimidated. They position themselves, and when you're positioned, you cannot create. When you are on the same level, that's when creation happens. And that's when things happen that we cannot even imagine. That's when really the vision is beyond us. What we need to make sure is we enable human beings to feel that they are.
Through active entertainment, through engaging in creative acts together. And that's how you basically level the playing field to ensure that people feel on the same level. And then what? So now that let's say there's a discussion about how to use a lake or some source of water or some source of energy, and there are people opposed and there are people proponents. So how do you use active entertainment and this leveling to have hard discussions, which inevitably have to happen?
So I'll answer your question by going to the words of serious and humorous, entertained. Well, you see, having discovered in my past couple of years of age that I can actually reach humans by not assuming that I know better, by simply assuming, come on, I have a thought. Who are you? How does it look like for you, my thought? Because it's not complete without you. And I do it through, you could call it the will and desire to have fun with you. I'm not serious, but come to think about it, I'm dead serious. Because those who presented the seriousness that we should argue about this is the right thing, that is the wrong thing, how do we know? It is a human nature that we developed. It's a software that we developed all of those years that we could only achieve by being strict and serious and constructive. But how about being? How about allowing this ultimate being which we feel comfortable with? We don't want anybody to tell us that we should be and we haven't done, and we should deal with nature and we haven't done to nature this. I mean, in all aspects. I mean, at the moment, also our times right now, I think we are entwined with nature. I think we can go back to this wonderful, beautiful, joyful harmony. What we are doing is that it's a level of an awareness. Okay, everybody's throwing the alarm sirens. Fantastic, great. What's next?
So let's talk about what's next. In let's give it some time frame. In 500 years, how do we live? What does that look like on the planet? And I mean in concrete terms, as in how do we feed the people on the planet? How do we live? What's housing do we have? How do we transport things? How do we educate people? How does it all work?
Okay, I will answer your 500 times plus by a 500 years. I mean, 500 years plus, 500 years minus, because I don't know. I only know that we can. And having witnessed, oh, so you see, I told you I'm a time lover, time
Mm-hmm.
observer.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. We human beings have discovered that we have amazing brains that could do construction. So we did big constructions.
Mm-hmm.
We have uh, discovered that we could actually read and write. And then some of us were capable of reading and writing. And then all of a sudden, um, we know that we could read and write, but it's so complex because only those who were educated, blah, blah, blah. So there comes the press and this printing. And all of a sudden, we were all surprised that a baby, a 5-year-old, could actually read and write. And it wasn't beyond us. And in fact, not only they read, they excel things like poetry and visualizations of thoughts and thinking were coming closer and closer to us. And whoa, we've got the literature, we've got all of this. And then all of a sudden, there was internet. And then with the internet, we have seen the past 30 years an access to thinking from those who we never imagined that they could do. So we reprogrammed and we discovered that we're actually able to reprogram ourselves. The only thing that does not allow this reprogramming to go in its ultimate way, and it shows us what our human capacities are truly, is war, is greed, is competition, is uh, I destroy you so that I exceed, or is this judgment, what are you? So if that software programming, if we are aware of eliminating, not only of creating, I wonder where would we reach?
So where would we reach? So the programming of the people. Or let's begin with a different image. I have the idea that, or some image comes popping up in my mind, is from Lord of the Rings.
Say that again.
Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
No. Sorry, not Lord of the Rings. Yeah, yeah. Lord of the Rings. The Elves.
Mm-hmm.
The species of the Elves. They are wise. They are connected to everything. They are beautiful also in their physique. Everything they produce is beautiful and long lasting and in harmony and tune with its surroundings and with nature. And what I'm hearing is that if we replace the greedy elements of our nature or software by new ones, I keep having these images of elves, humans turning into elves. Now the elves are also at war due to outside pressure. So 2 questions. Is that image that I'm having correct? Is that aligned with your views on where would we evolve if we had a software replacement or an upgrade? And 2, how does conflict resolution work in that with that new software?
Okay. What we also tend to do is that we want or need to know how, where, what we can. We need to know that because it gives us a kind of, okay, I will do this, and then I will know what more can I be. So, can you imagine where we do not know, where we have no aim, where where the first and ultimate and most urgent aim is to be, and to be together, to be with you, with me. And what I did was, and that was very actively and consciously, um, I would say the past 10 years. And this conscious decision was, okay, well, I can't now imagine what would it be if I am so peaceful in my mind, if I would be this creature that is going to be in 500 years time. Actually, my image was 3,000 years, because I thought we need a good 3,000 years to reprogram ourselves. Well, so, but I went there, and I saw what I think and imagine this human being would be like, and I'm living it. And I'm every day discovering inside me this incredible power. And the power I mean by it, I could connect to so many human beings, and I could, in every single moment, create this energy or constructive problem solving, futuristic looking solutions within my small circle. Um, and I never knew I was like, I could be like this. And so within my small circle, this human being and their capacities, it works.
Mm.
And the big joke is that now I'm saying that in a podcast, nobody else told me. I haven't heard about somebody who told me that it actually exists within us.
Mm-hmm.
Some people keep on telling me you're a Buddha, and I no, I'm not a Buddha. And some people tell me you are, uh, I don't know what you're doing, and all of that. I am not. I am not I didn't start with saying and everything. No, I started with this image that I'm telling you about how could we look like if we're only if we're only using all of that, our sense of being, what could come without any hatred, competition, with only love and creativity, because creativity. So I don't know about how Buddhas were, but I mean, I've always this sensation that there's something inside me that I'm going to fulfill actively, and I do that.
Okay, now you have worked on that for more than half of a century. The many people that are in the business of producing things that you can consume maybe don't have the time to engage with themselves to such a level that they can reach that stage that you're at within half a century or earlier. So they would need maybe 100 or 200 years to get to that same stage, because they're so busy doing stuff. Now, how do we create or what does the society look like that enables people to reach that stage that you're describing early on for a 5-year-old, like you described it? We couldn't imagine that a 5-year-old could read and write, and then we couldn't imagine that this 5-year-old would create poetry. Now, what if that 5-year-old were as wise as the 50-year-old Maha? So how what does this world look like where every 5-year-old is on your level?
You see, so many people tell me, oh, you could allow yourself to talk like that because you're privileged. And you are in this position to say things like that. And how about, what if this, like in this case, how could we give this man who is now creative and a good businessman and having those sense of ideas, how could we get them closer to this? My answer is, I don't know, because the only thing that I will provide within my lifespan is that I develop. It is like an invention, actually. It is like I have created something which I could only provide it for you as a product by me working further hard on it. It is like I have created a recording, like there and then. There was no sound. Nobody was capable of recording or even imagining that there is something called a sound that we could record. I'm actually recording emotions. I am actually, and I am playing them again. I am recording a sensation. It's more than emotion. I have a sketch for it. Probably know a little bit about how I sketch things. And I see this, it's like a couple of colors, sort of sensations that I am producing by being, that it will be only available for those others to see it, feel it, sense it, and be it, if I could continue with my creativity.
So this is what you can contribute right now. But what if, let's say, in the 3,000 years you imagined, there are the entire world population has exactly that sensation. So we have like 7.5 billion Mahas on the planet in 3,000 years. What do they do?
Okay, let's go there. If you really want to go there.
I really want to go there.
There are many versions of those people.
Let's go to one.
Actually, if you want to go on this limited human thinking that I keep on, and it's not a limited human thing, it's just like this reoccurring dream, as I am floating. I'm honestly floating from one space to the other. I am actually not moving by what I know about moving. And I can imagine that it is something that our telepathy, whatever it is, I am somewhere there, sometimes somewhere there, but then my legs and my physical being just limits me. But I could confirm that in things like, so very often are we going either in deja vus, or are we going with flashes in memories in the past? So actually we do this movement, or we go into telepathy with other people where we have no explanation for it. At the moment, there's no recording, there's no physicality for it, there's no tangibility, just because this other software is blocking this capacity that we so very much have. And that is why, and every day for me, every day, when I am more this Maha that I want to be from the year 3000, I am always surprised about those. I don't know how to describe them actually. Visions, are they sensations? Are they feelings? Which actually makes me feel so comfortable and sparkling. There's a sparkle that goes to me, like no matter what happens, you just go, yesterday I missed a flight. after having woken up 5 o'clock in the morning, being in the airport on time, and then we just were having fun, me and my kids, and all of a sudden the gates were closed. Inside me was a sparkle. I was just like, look at what we have done. And because I was sparkling, those 18 hours of what other people would have thought, what I saw my kids a little bit heading there, those 18 hours had led us to a new project that, because we were there sitting completely entspannt or relaxed, we managed to create a project that's now going to change the next 10, 20 years of our lives. Poor. We realized, the three of us, that we've got this thing that brings us together. And so this would not have been if I would have replaced it.
Yeah, but what I have difficulty with in that image in let's say 3,000 years is if we still have some mode of transport, since you touched on moving stuff around, then you would want your planes or your rockets or your pods that somehow are moved to be on time. You would like that. Sometimes you would need that if somebody's life depends on it, and then you would need to have some sort of an organization around that requires restriction for some people. So am I getting this totally wrong, or how does this work?
When you were talking right now, Thomas, I was going, oh, I have to go back down there to translate a thought, because you were imagining a human being on his own who is achieving this. Okay, so the image that came to my mind is domino. When you put a domino that goes, we're not going to be functioning as one human being. There's no way in order for this world to take its full potential. The individual does not exist on their own. So if I wanted to be somewhere else in the world and I'm so connected to humans, then I will find my channel and I would just deliver my message, and the message will be there, and there's this whatever human being who is me, but there. It's just like, okay, when I was 18, 17 years of age, my father was telling me about somebody has invented a machine where a piece of paper is transmitted all over the globe within seconds. And I go, no way, Dad. Yeah, no way, forget it. And I remember this conversation so well until today. And it was the fax machine. So does that get us closer?
It gets us closer. So essentially, there will be an equivalent of the fax machine for everything. You can be wherever on the world, whenever you want, with whomever you want. You can you also be multiple times? So is there one Maha, or is there several at the same time?
You know, Thomas, it is those questions that are going to enable people to create even more possibilities. Maha and her basic programming is only one. The question of Thomas is, woo! So if we have one of us who is capable of this, let's multiply them. And let's have this individual with those characteristics visible to so many other people, and then they could see it. And then they could see this programming and add on to it. I know we can.
So this sounds like a very disembodied way of being, um, and I can somehow get a glimpse of that, imagining through conversations like this, being in different locations, um, and maybe having recorded another one that somebody else somewhere else is watching. So I'm already multiplied. Um, so in a virtual space, this embodied space, I can very well imagine that. Also because it is much easier to feed a disembodied mind or spirit, and it is much easier to give space, the required space, because if every 7.5 billion people decide to multiply by 10, then we would really start to run out of space on this planet, at least. So is this a possibility for that future that you're envisioning? Do we still have bodies?
Again, I have heard so many people talking about things like the life after, or I was a very big fan of the science fictions of Isaac Asimov,
Mm.
when I was a teenager. Um, my answer is, I don't know. I really don't know about life after death because I haven't died yet. I really don't know what is my capacity after today. I mean, my sensations and my awarenesses are actually growing as I make those steps. And this conversation we're having is making me grow. You know, every time I am in a context where I am not being faced with people who are telling me, but I mean, you are what you're saying, you're a dreamer. I mean, let's just face fact and realities. Well, then I don't grow. But I observe and I'll just go, okay, so this is how we are today, humans. Now, this growth and this potential of where we could be, we could only see it by actually being today the maximum we could imagine where there we are. And what we are collecting every day from this growth, we're going to add it onto it and be from within it. It's like, I think the way I'm doing it is, honestly, I feel like I am opening this new space. I'm conquering a world, and conquer is not, it's an old fashioned way. I'm discovering a world, and the more I peek into it and tell people about it, the more other people are seeing. And then we're having those conversations, and the world is taking shape as we are moving.
Do you know pockets of people that are living close, at least, to a future that you want to create on the planet?
I have met recently a woman, the one I told you about. Yes, there are. There
Mm-hmm.
are people who are there, and it and they are also circulating in certain circles. You know, you won't find them in a a branding store buying consumer materials. I don't think they are the consumers. I think these are people who truly are being without any need of the other pictures that are told upon us how we should be. Yes, I think I'm certain there are. And with the help of the internet at the moment, you could reach beyond your physical surrounding to find them.
Mm-hmm. What you're describing reminds me of an idea by a developmental psychologist from California called Robert Keegan.
Mm-hmm.
And what he describes is that we go through very distinct mindset configurations during life. And given enough time, everybody would go through all of these 3 stages. And you can also speed that evolution up. The first stage is what he calls the socialized mindset, which basically the socialized mindset is defined by your surrounding. If you are in a socialized mindset, then your community can trust that you act in the way the community rules are set up. When you step outside of that, outside of the community, you become self-authoring. You decide which of the rules that make up the mindset, the socialized mindset, are actually relevant to you, which are missing, which do you want to add. And then once you step one step out of that further, you become the self-transforming mindset, which means that now you are looking at the motivations, the drivers behind your self-authoring mindset. You're stepping outside of your own self-authoring mindset and becoming a transformative force on your own mindset, which is transforming the socialized mindset that is defining the rules of society. So what I'm hearing in your description is that you are on that level of self-transforming mindset, and that you are engaging with other people on that level, and that you are envisioning a future in which everybody has achieved that.
Okay. I'll just use some of the words from within what you just told me, because you are sort of painting some kind of a picture that is there. And I will just like rephrase something. So here we are. For me, actually, my existence, and we go about my passion with time, there is this stretch, if we have a scale of time for humanity, yeah? Something that had happened before, my hand's going there, outside the screen, something that's going to happen in the future and forever. And I see my section. I'm very aware of my section. So my identity within time, as much as my logic tells me, is this.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I don't behave like that. I behave like this. Mm-hmm. Number 2. And I really, literally, I don't behave for my time. I behave within a bigger time consciousness. Number 2. The social context, the identity, the belonging, I don't belong. And I do not belong to a social structure, nor, not even, because I'm giving us the chance for a bigger identity, not even to humanity. I just simply belong for this time zone that I stretch as much as I want. Now, from this context of thinking, conscious thinking, there is no barrier for me, for my behavior, neither the social nor everything is possible for me. The guiding rule for me is that there is something inside me that is always willing to show itself, and I allow it, as long as it is not, because the alternative for that, there are options. There are these continuous, I call them those dents, those, those pressures. Like, the alternative is not of being the ultimate of myself in every moment, is to just go fear, thinking, so wanting to achieve, wanting, no. No, it's just this. If I let go, then my existence and my achievement is not mine. What I could do is allow this inner to come out. And then this weave that goes beyond time and beyond any social or limitations that we humans have put. And then it's a harmony.
Okay. So it sounds like you're detaching from everything, all concepts that we know, even time. And within that, you find a new identity, and a new, a new identity. And I think I can understand that, and I think I can relate to that. But again, what I'm not understanding is how does a day, let's try a day look like for a human in that state, in a world full of humans in that state, in 3,000 years?
I will go with you there for a second, from within what we have just described, just for us to have fun. You see, at the moment, we can imagine achievements or states of being within things that we could physically grab or things that we could see. And when we could see them and physically grab them, then we just go, right? How about when achievements are things that we produce? How about the minute that I am fulfilling my being, I am a ripple, and there's so many ripples of so many other human beings, and there's a continuous rippling that is happening. That is what is defining my existence. And of course, humanity will never manage so very fast and so very equal to produce this ultimate being collaboration. So there will be sometimes some kind of a gaps in where it starts sucking those ripples, and then there's a disruption. And that's when we go back to our now humanity. And but the fact is, so many people are aware of that this destruction is reducing this beauty that's transporting them, that's allowing them to produce even more beauty. That is, the maneuver is from each of them. They're not waiting, thinking, when is this law going to change? And if this law is going to change and the disasters of nature is coming from us, they know that they are nature, that they know that they could only ripple in order for this destruction to go out. So every day I am with you, because if I'm not with you, then I'm not. And so they are so empowered to be that it is a pleasure to be. And the more you are, the bigger is your ripple. And so you are allowed to produce smaller ripples, because you never know what is in us that we need to shrink a little bit to grow a little bit. That will happen. But the force or the source is us and nothing else. And the change, if something bad happens, is also from our continuously being.
Okay, thank you. Let's bring it back down to, for me, to make it a little more understandable even. Um, eh, let's talk about beauty.
Yeah.
As an architect, you are very familiar with the concept of form follows function. And you want to create beautiful spaces, beauty for that are at the same time functional. So you want to a specific room, like a kitchen, a bathroom, or an office, have a function, but at the same time they need to be beautiful, or should be beautiful. And one of the challenges for an architect is achieving both, and then within other constraints like budgets, etc. Is that similar to what you're describing? And if so, what is the function in your description? Because we've been talking about beauty. Do we get rid of function? Is there no necessity for function anymore? Or what happens to function in your image?
Let's just go back to time.
Mm-hmm.
As a source of an answer for the future. Which of the functions of all of those spaces and buildings stayed the same? Would the change of our mindset?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing stayed the same. And in fact, the actual beauty is from another sense of time. By the way, there is this looking back in time, do we define a kind of an aesthetics?
Mm-hmm.
And so it is this sensation of what do I call I appreciate, or I find a sense of beauty for it. And now, honestly, truly, functionality. Here we are. If we felt euphoric about something, then we could make it functional. I mean, they have turned churches into kitchens. They have turned, and then it's in those details of how we assume our roles that others have perceived as beauty. And it's like creating a symphony of things. Let's talk about famous architects and their achievements. Truly and honestly, it is what the others wanted. It is what they have created for the others to be entertained with. That has created the beauty. It is the capacity of those human beings to bubble out a new concept where the energy and enthusiasm of others, they would deny certain programmed usage of how they are used to functionality and adapt a new functionality just because they're fascinated with a new concept. That's when we realize we can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who would have imagined industrial whatever is a feature for beauty? But yet it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think this is a very fascinating exploration. I'm really trying to wrap my everything around that vision of your future. And I've so far, what I'm struggling with is that it's so dematerialized, that it's so So that you don't seem to care about any 3D necessities like um, food, transport, going to the bathroom, things like that. And um, is that just my perception, or is that so?
I have two questions.
Mm.
Why are you struggling with this?
Because I need to eat, not right now, but from time to time.
What's stopping you?
Nothing. But the so the apple that I might eat in an hour, that grew somewhere on some tree, and the tree was nurtured by some person, and then probably some other person picked that apple, or maybe it was a machine, and then another person or machine packaged it and brought it to some distribution center, and that distribution center passed it on to a supermarket, and from there it went into my pocket. And so so unless we stop eating and totally dematerialize, we will have to create ways to ensure the functioning of such logistics and value and production chains in order to provide for all of the 3D necessities that people have.
So I will stop and I'll freeze this. And I will take you now from this question to the next question. There are the things that we know, and there is innovation into recreating from the things that we know new things, right? And that's where your frame is right now. What I'm trying to take you, where I want to try to take you, is to a world that you do not know, to a new, completely new, which is not yet describable in its. So visions and visionary there's so many people who are visionaries, so they take what we have and they move it to a step further, and it's beautiful and it's fantastic, and it allows people to go into inventions. But what I'm doing with you and what I'm living, what is controlling my fantasy and thinking, is not how far can I go with what I know. It is how far can I be? And that's a guiding force that I myself cannot describe. And the only way I could describe it to you is maybe through the examples of recording sound, the facts, these are things that before that, if you would tell people about it, they would just go, huh? Wait, and I will not be able to get this viable product.
Of course not, but that's what we're trying to do, is like get some words and some images for this, which is not yet describable because it's so far out, and that's why it's so difficult. But for allowing other people to really get at least a glimpse, an idea, a little feeling about what that future that you envision is like. I think we've already done a good job, and what I think is the strongest image, for me at least, that you've said is, how far can we be? For me, that triggers a whole chain of associations that I cannot really describe, but that I can definitely feel. So, and maybe for this conversation, I have to conclude that it is still very unimaginable for me, because it's so dematerialized, and my little brain is trying to make sense of that. But I get a feeling of where you're headed, and why you think it's not only feasible but necessary and peaceful. Yeah.
I mean, I will just answer to that is that, let's just take this conversation. I'm not going to be the same person after this conversation. And I think when we visualize this more and more, either in conversations or in whatever, we're going to be influencing each other into discovering more about, well, what is this? And how do we want to dive deeper in it, instead of just saying, I want to know exactly how it is and where is it moving me and what I'm getting out of it. And the thing is, well, maybe it's just somebody who is hallucinating, and then the history would record there was a hallucinator, and Thomas listened to her, and the two of them hallucinated beautifully together. Full stop. It's also beautiful.
I have the feeling that we're coming to an end of the description of what you're feeling about the future. But what I would love to do is, in another episode, talk with you about the tools you have found and created throughout your life to bring yourself to the point where you are at the moment, as a spirit, as a mind, as a being. Because I believe that this is fundamental to also the understanding of your future, but is also very helpful for other people to maybe use some of those tools that you've found and developed.
I am so excited.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yes.
I look forward. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
And also thank you for all of the beautiful hallucination you're doing for the world, to be able to imagine a good new future, a peaceful future. Thank you, Maha.
Thank you. That was lovely.